Reid Carson didn't notice it at first. It was subtle, just a flicker under the street lamp outside his apartment during last night's blackout. As he walked past, the soft halo of emergency lighting cast his shadow long against the pavement. But something was off. His arms were still at his sides. His shadows weren't. They twitched. He stopped, turned, looked again. The shadow stood still now, perfectly matching him. Maybe just a trick of the light. Maybe he was tired. But the next morning, under the harsh morning sun, it happened again. He waved. The shadow flinched, not waved. Flinched, like it was recoiling from the light. Reid stepped backward. The shadow stumbled. Then it curled in on itself, like it hurt, like it was alive. Reid started walking with his head down, keeping to shade, avoiding parks and open sidewalks. The sun had become a threat, not to his skin, but to the thing attached to his feet. His shadow had begun to twitch in full view now, not mimicry. Reaction, like it was being burned alive whenever sunlight touched it. Its fingers splayed when he reached for things. Its head jerked sideways when he coughed. It curled in pain when he stepped into bright rooms. At work, he kept the blinds closed, but people noticed. "You look off lately," someone muttered. "Kind of drained." That night, Reid pulled security footage from the office hallway, just to be sure. He slowed it down frame by frame. There it was. His shadow paused mid-step, then slowly, shakily, reached toward another man's passing shadow. The moment they touched, the other shadow jerked violently, like it had been shocked. The man turned and clutched his chest in real life, just for a second. Reid rewound the footage again and again, heart pounding. His shadow had touched someone. Later that night, he dreamt he was back in the hallway, the lights above him buzzing. But he wasn't alone. Something skittered above him on the ceiling, limbs bent backward, face a stretched version of his own. It whispered in his voice, "Turn off the lights." Reid stopped trusting mirrors. It began in the bathroom, early morning, bleary-eyed, brushing his teeth. He looked up, and his reflection stared back with tears running down its cheeks. He touched his own face, dry. The reflection stayed still for a moment longer, then wiped its face with a slow, shaking hand. Reid dropped the toothbrush and stumbled backward. Over the next few days, it got worse. His reflection began moving out of sync, half a second too late, then a full second. Then at times it didn't move at all, just stared at him, trembling, mouth open like it wanted to scream but couldn't. At sunset, he noticed a new behavior. His shadow no longer stretched. It shrank, curling toward him like a dying animal. It seemed to twitch violently when headlights passed or when kitchen lights flickered. He found himself whispering to it without thinking. "Are you okay?" No answer. Just a silent shudder. Then came the woman. At a crosswalk, an elderly woman grabbed his arm, eyes wide. "You shouldn't be out in the open," she rasped. Reid froze. "Do I know you?" She ignored the question and shoved something into his hands. A crumpled black and white photo, an X-ray of a humanoid figure, warped and unnatural, made entirely of shadow. Across the top, typed in faded red, "Shadow organism, stage 3, containment failed." She leaned in. "You made it feel," she whispered. "Now it wants to be real." And then she was gone. No footsteps, no sound, just gone. Lights flickered wherever Reid went now. Supermarkets, elevators, his own kitchen. It was like electricity twisted around him, failing, pulsing, shivering. His coworkers stopped making eye contact. His neighbor crossed the street to avoid him. One even muttered, "It's sticking to you," as she passed. His shadow had changed again. It no longer mirrored him. It lagged behind, twitching, folding its arms when his were still. He caught it once, staring back at him. Not looking at him, staring up from the ground with what he could only describe as quiet resentment. Reid stopped sleeping. When he tried, he'd hear it breathing. Not in the room, from the walls, from under the bed, from inside the mirror. Desperate, he turned off every light in his apartment. Candles, bulbs, screen glow, everything. Sat in total darkness for the first time in days. And still, his shadow was there. But it was no longer on the floor. It was standing, upright, separate, like a person. A twisted silhouette of himself, fingers slightly longer, limbs a bit too thin, posture broken. It whimpered, not words, just pain. Reid tried to speak, but no sound came. The shadow tilted its head, mimicking him, mocking him. Then it whispered with a voice that made the floor vibrate. Soon, Reid woke up in agony. Sunlight poured through a crack in the curtains, and his skin blistered beneath it. Angry red welts seared across his arms and neck, as if he'd been lying beneath a heat lamp for hours. He scrambled to cover the window, breath ragged, heart racing. At the hospital, the doctor asked if he'd suffered chemical burns. Reid just shook his head. They ran scans. X-rays showed something impossible, a second skeletal outline faintly imprinted beneath his skin. Thinner, fragile, like a shadow clinging from the inside out. At home, every mirror was covered, but one, just one, had its cloth torn away. His reflection stood calmly. No twitching, no tears, no fear. It stared at him and smiled. Then it moved. While he stood still, it whispered, "You gave me pain. Now I'll give you form." Reid ran outside into the burning sun, but there was no shadow, none at all. Just a long, thin trail of black footprints behind him, still smoldering.